Good morning, Stephen Lee, habitual offender. You have renamed the internet successfully yesterday. Glad you won it again today. Now that you know what to do, maybe you're going to have to be the trainer for anyone who wins it in between you winning the internet. But it's wonderful to have you here first. First always. That's wonderful. Oh, man. It is Friday already. We thought it would never come, right? But it's here. It's the weekend. I'm just trying to still organize my desk here. My kids think this is their playroom, I think. It's not, just for the record. Let that be known, Judge. Let's see. There we go. And I'm not even on camera. Oh, no, that's awful. Let's see if I can adjust this from over here. I think that's going to have to do. That's the best I can adjust. There we go. That's going to be it. All right, Stephen Lee, welcome. Thank you for being first, as always. Congratulations on your prize for the internet. You've won this before, so you know what to do. Appreciate you taking care of that for really the whole planet. It's a good work you're doing. Alexis, good morning. Good morning. It's wonderful to have you here as well. It's Friday already. It came without warning. I'm looking everywhere for my drink. I've got a cup of hot chocolate because it was a little cool this morning, right? I've got a cup of hot chocolate that is waiting for me somewhere, but it's not within arm's reach. So I might have to step away to grab that at some point to keep going. Mallory Porter says this might be my new favorite morning work stream. Mallory, I'm glad I can be part of that. Wonderful to have you here. Shauna, welcome as well. I know a few of you have mentioned in chat, you're like, oh, I feel bad I missed the live stream. Don't feel bad. I know you guys have lives that are busy and important, and you're doing great things. I love to have you when you're here. Just appreciate it. I just really love the community here. And Alexis says, I love all these colorful buttons. I just want to push them. Alexis, just for your benefit, this particular button box right here is for your benefit. This particular button box right here is my favorite of all the buttons. You probably can't see it unless I push this one right here, but this is how I control everything on my stream. And every time I push one of these buttons, let's see if it'll focus. Every time I push one of these buttons, the options change completely. And I can drill down and change just about everything about my stream, from the audio to the video to how big I am, how loud they are, everything. It's all controlled on this. That's what's called a stream deck, and it's a streamer's dream machine. It really does everything for me, and I love it. But yeah, I might set it up, Alexis, just for you. I've tested this technology. I might set it up so that in chat you guys could issue special commands that would actually impact the live stream, where, I don't want to give you control over like stopping the live stream, because we'll get a troll in here that will just be like, haha, watch this. But maybe if you wanted to, in the middle of while I'm talking, you wanted to see the behind the scenes and cut to that, you might be able to switch something like that. Maybe you could, if I can get it working right, if people vote and say it's not loud enough, you could adjust the volume, within reason. I'll have to play with that a little bit. But Alexis, maybe I can at least let you remotely push the buttons. Abby says, good morning. And Abby, Stephen Lee has been on it. This is day 3 for him winning the internet, being first in chat. And quite honestly, he did a good job the other day. I didn't have any problems with the internet at my house. If you had any, please pass that complaint on to Stephen. I'm sure he'll take care of that and resolve the issue shortly. Angie says, "Morning, Scott, and everyone been awake since 4 a.m. And what were you thinking? What were you thinking getting up at 4 a.m.? Is that a normal occurrence for you, or did you have something on your mind? If it's something to share, we'd be glad to discuss it, and if it would be helpful." Jill says, "Good morning, welcome, Eileen Tavernia. Good morning. We've got some new names in here, which I love. We've got a huge community out there, and some of them are still discovering this wonderful little corner of the internet where we come every morning. So I'm grateful you guys are here. Thank you so much for joining." Sean says, "Yes, has quickly become my favorite one." Bella, I think notifications should fall under the general umbrella of the internet. So any complaints about notifications might have to go to Stephen today. Stephen, if you can get on that and fix that for next live stream, that'd be good. Also, it might help if I schedule these live streams so you can see that it's coming, just so you get a notification, get a countdown. But I know I was a little late this morning. I was running around watching a bunch of things, trying to get some images I wanted to have ready in my switcher so we could talk about some things that are coming up. But Barb says, "I texted you." Barb, I got that text. I was actually reading that. We're going to check the mailbag here in a bit. Not going to read all your texts, but I did. I'm not going to play all the messages, but I did get some messages from you guys. We're going to play one from Sandy Fields a little bit later today. So if Sandy's on, hopefully she'll be able to hear that. We're going to try to answer her question. And really, it's her fault that I'm late because I was trying to dig up some information that I could present on screen for that. And hopefully that'll work. Let's see. Other than that, we've got. Just going to do a wrap up. We've had a huge week as far as true crime goes, live in the news. But at the same time, some of the stuff that's going on is not as exciting as I think it could be, and it doesn't warrant our full and undivided attention. Specifically, the New Mexico shooter. The New Mexico skier. He's on trial for murder. That's Dean Cummings is his name, and he's on trial for killing a guy in an argument over land in the middle of the desert. It's the middle of nowhere, but he was going to buy this land. And when you think of somebody who buys land in the middle of the desert, you sort of get this idea about what they call like a prepper, somebody who's like preparing for the end of the world. I'm going to have my own little area away from civilization, be able to defend against all zombies and aliens or whatever else. And that's sort of the feel I'm getting with Dean Cummings as I look into this. But at the same time, I don't know which way this case is going to go. I don't know if there's enough evidence to say, yes, this is murder, or if their jury's going to come back and say, hey, that was justified. So we'll see that. We'll keep watching that a little bit as we progress. But let's see. Chandra is lurking at work. I appreciate you being here lurking. Let your coworkers lurk as well. Share. But good morning to everybody. I'm falling behind on the chat already. Just want to see all who's here. Bella, you're here. Wonderful. Abby, Chandra, Stephen Lee. He says, sent you some t-shirt ideas. Let me know what you're looking for, Recovery Addict. Stephen, thank you. I did see those. I've also got some other, some of you reached out to me. Mama from Utah, from I think up in the northern Utah area, reached out to me. She actually works at a company that does merchandise type stuff, and she's reached out to me as well. So Shavana says, shirts, yes. I will tell you that one of you, I'll have to look at the note. I forget the names. If it's not in front of me, I don't remember who it is. You guys, and I apologize for that. But one of you reached out and said, hey, I bought your last mug. Thanks. I'm like, oh, I forgot. Let me fix that. So we upped the inventory on the mugs. So that if you go to eBay and search for Recovery Addict mug, you're going to find the mugs there again. They're back in stock in all 5 colors. I appreciate all you guys that placed the orders. I believe they should be delivering early next week. I checked I went through all the tracking numbers, and I think everybody is going to get their mug maybe Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. So thank you very much for those. I really appreciate that support. Let's see. Joe Ellen, good morning from Yorktown Heights, New York. Love your channel, Joe Ellen. Thank you for joining me from way up in New York. Got a bunch of friends that were up there metal detecting this last week and just had a blast. Let's see. Great being here. Hi from the UK. Sarah, welcome. We have a UK contingent here on this channel. So you are not alone, Sarah. You've got a few friends and allies there, and greetings from across the pond to you. Eileen, so glad I found you. Nice group of people. Thank you. This is amazing. Last Poet says, I look for you every day at 8 Central Time. Thanks for being on, Scott. Last Poet, thank you. I'm still trying to find the right format that works best for what we want to do. I love that you want to be here and hear me talk. Some of you say, I love your voice. I could listen to you read the dictionary. I don't think you really stay for that. It's not that exciting. But I love that you're here. I love the group that this is, and all of us are sort of interested in crime. We're interested in true crime. So we've got to keep that as our theme, but I might have to evolve the channel a little bit because I'm not getting enough sleep when I'm live streaming and doing all that. I want to give you all the content and information I've had, and then when I'm done, I have to start the research immediately and follow up on the cases that I couldn't follow while we were live, and just checking everything. And so I'm like, I've got to figure out a better system, but I want to be here every day. I think that's important, but it might have to change to a different time. We might do an evening wrap up instead of a morning look ahead. So, but or we might do both and just maybe cut it down to an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening. I don't know. That's all up in the air. That being said, I'm not going anywhere. I love this. Stephen Lee says, Bella, the internet said you didn't give me cookies, so no notifications for you. Okay, Stephen Lee already, as the proud owner of the internet for the day, is taking care of problems. So if you have any, forward them to him. Barb Murray, Dancing Granny. Yes, Barb, I think you sent me a picture of you with your granddaughter, and saying you were going to apply to be a dancing granny, which is awesome. For those that don't know, Barb is up in Washka, where all this Darrell Brooks incident happened, and Barb's going to be up there representing all of us, with a couple others from the channel at the parade that the town is holding this early in December. So thank you, Barb, and thanks for that picture. Congratulations, by the way, on becoming a grandma. Did you all see the board is investigating the bird flipping attorney? Yeah, it's a thing. It's going to go down. We will see a reprimand on that for sure. We're going to see a reprimand. That's just, you can't let that go. It will take some time, I think, for the board to post something, but I'll keep an eye on that Florida board, the Florida bar, see what happens. What are we talking about this morning? Great question, Shauna. What do you want to talk about? We've got a few things. We've got obviously the Parkland case wrapped up today, or not today, this week, with the sentencing, life in prison without parole. We had all the closing, the powerful, emotional closing arguments that just were amazing. I know we replayed one of those in part yesterday. It was awesome. I've watched some of the after the press conferences the family's done and stuff. I think we're gonna sort of let that rest for now. That was a tough one to sit through, both the descriptions of the injuries and things like that, as well as just the emotions of the families, the raw emotions that they shared publicly. But my heart goes out to all of them, and hope that now at least, even though this may not be the outcome they wanted, that they can get a degree of closure and begin that healing process that's sort of been denied them for over 4 years. Colette, what did I miss? Did you see Chad Abshurst blow a kiss to the prosecution after a murder verdict? I did not. I'm going to have to go watch that. Stephen Lee says, the extreme skier case makes me wonder if he has had one too many hits to the noggin to make his brain a little fuzzy. Yes, and Stephen, if you were following that, did you see the defense get up and raise the issue about the magazine, the clip that goes in the gun? And they basically had the police officer on the stand who was responsible for collecting a lot of the evidence at the scene, and he's identifying items. And one of the items that was identified in a picture was a magazine, a specific magazine for this AR rifle, and in the picture you can clearly see the type and the size of the magazine. And then she goes and she pulls up evidence that was pulled out of the box in front of the jury, and says, what's this magazine? And it's different. And he says, I don't know. And she says, where does it come from? And he says, I don't know. And she's basically said, the state has introduced this evidence about this critical part of this gun, okay, the part of the gun that holds all the rounds before they're fired and feeds them into the chamber one after another. 10 shots were fired. This magazine was supposedly used. And the one that's presented to the jury by the state is not the one that was found at the crime scene. And that's an issue. That's a big issue. And I only caught that sort of as it was happening, so I jumped in the middle, and that's my understanding of what happened there. But they've got now these 2 clips, and so the defense has in the weird position of actually saying, well, I guess this one needs to be entered into evidence, and so it goes to the state's table. You want us to put a sticker on it? We've got to. I guess we've got 2 now. We've got to figure out where this one came from. What else went wrong was basically what she's presenting. What else did the police really screw up? Did they add evidence to this scene? It introduces all sorts of doubt and interesting thought processes. So that part I do want to follow for that. Let's see. Bella says, I get notifications from my other YouTube channels I follow. And she always shares cookies. That is like a life lesson. Always share cookies. Somebody said we were supposed to wave to JB today. JB's our friend up in Canada. He's not really good on chat, but he does watch on his TV. So if you guys want to, I'll wave because he's not following chat. So I'm waving for everybody else. Welcome, JB. Appreciate you being there. Are you talking about Dylan Rounds, the property thing murder? We were talking about Dean Cummings in New Mexico. That's the one. I am going to get to, as Abby puts our message here for the burner phone hotline, I'm going to get to a brief message here that I got. I think we actually got it late last night. Sandy, I think you submitted this right as we were going off the air, right as I was wrapping up the feed. So I want to play this a little bit and answer your question. And while this is playing, I'm trying to make sure I have the image to pull up that's important for this. Let's see. No. Okay, so I'm not as prepared as I thought I was. I was getting this from the news. I actually went to Psychiatry Times to answer this question. But let's go ahead and play her question, and hopefully I can get this sorted while this is playing.
Sandy Fields, my question is there a minimum intelligence requirement for a defendant? This question comes from, I'm watching the Jacksonville trial, and I feel really sorry for this guy who's been accused of killing his girlfriend and her sister. I've actually been praying for him. So is there any kind of test that they give for that? Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to let you guys give your answers first as I'm pulling this up. So in chat, if you guys want to answer just a little bit, let's see. What is the minimum, as I'm trying to pull up the Psychiatry Times again frantically. Okay, assessing competency. There we go. Okay, what is the minimum, the intelligence? And you see this in a couple different cases where you wonder, especially in Parkland, right? His IQ was brought into the equation. We know that he has an IQ of, the shooter had an IQ of 89. What is the minimum needed to stand trial? Let's see. I'm going to call this one IQ. All right. Let's see. True Celtic Mutt says, recovery addict, every time you say clip, when you mean magazine, I fear my firearms instructor yelling in my head. A clip is what you carry your money in. I should know better. Right. I do use the terms interchangeably, and they are not. Although I think technically you can have a clip for some types of guns that feed bullets that are attached to each other into the chamber as they feed. But the magazine is the sort of like the boxy hard shell spring-loaded device that you feed bullets into, and they become pressurized by the spring as it compresses, and that loads into the gun and then feeds each round one at a time into the chamber. So True Celtic, I appreciate you clarifying that. I will try to say magazine every time it comes up. But let's see. Stephen Lee says, I think there is when they're considered mentally disabled and cannot help in their own defense. So what I have here, if I can bring it on screen. Why is it not bringing on the screen? I might just have to talk about it here. There are a couple different competency terms that come from the Psychiatric Times that address addressing competency to stand trial. And the first one is what they call CST, or competency to stand trial. The mental ability to stand trial. A person's mentally competent to stand trial if they're able to understand the character and the consequences of the proceedings against them, and is able to properly assist in their defense. That's a pretty low bar. They basically have to understand what's going on and can participate. There's the IST, incompetent to stand trial, which is mentally incompetent. A person is mentally incompetent to stand trial if they're unable to understand the character and consequences of the proceedings against them, or are unable to properly assist in their defense. And then the last one is a competence restoration. To be considered restored to and competent to stand trial, a defendant must be able to consult with their defense lawyer and have a rational and factual understanding of the legal proceedings. So you could be ruled incompetent, and then through medication or treatment can have your competency restored, and then the procedure can go on. So Sandra, hopefully that answers your question. I don't think there's really an IQ level a test you have to pass and reach a certain benchmark. But the judge, a lot of times you'll see this in the trials where you saw it with Darrell Brooks, even though he was saying he didn't understand. I think he did, and the judge ruled that he did in some cases, that he was competent. He did have that level of understanding as to what he was doing. Let's see. However, interrogations by police, says Tag, are often omitted due to mental incompetence in trials. Tag, I think are you talking about an error the police made? Or if the police interrogations are omitted due to mental incompetence, not because the police did something wrong in the interrogation, but because if the person who was being interrogated didn't understand the nature of the proceedings and really the rights they were surrendering when they were Mirandized, I think that's what you're getting at. John Lucas, who doesn't need sleep apparently, says, 2:25 a.m. here in New Zealand. Your great channel keeps me awake. I'm sorry and thank you at the same time. John, it's wonderful to have you here. Alexis said, I'd say the minimum should be whatever Brooks's is, maybe a little higher in retrospect. Real answer, I think there's probably a lot of testing they have to go through to prove competency. There is, yeah. And in Brooks's case specifically, he had 4 tests, 4 different people, 4 different psychiatrists or mental health professionals with the doctor behind their name or in front of it, examined him and found him to be competent. That's the perk Kanye West lawyers are using to resign from representing him. DB understood. He always came to court with a new loophole to try out. He did, and I was watching. There's a judge. I'll have to find it and give you his feed. But there's a judge in a little tiny courtroom. I forget which state he's in, but he has a Zoom running and he live streams his arraignments. It's like, hey, I'm in court today. We've got like 20 people are going to show up. I'm going to initial hearing type thing, and he just live streams the whole thing, and it's really funny because one of them that came up, I think it was about a week ago, had the same paper that Darrell Brooks had, and he goes off and he's like, I'm here as a special, the whole thing when Darrell Brooks makes his appearances thing, I'm here as a special person representing my client in this matter. And this guy goes off, tries to read in the law from 1786 or something about how, is it true law, or what was his name? Is it, I can't even remember the term that Darrell was using now. It's escaped me this morning. But he played like almost all the same cards. And the judge, so patient, just sat there. He's like, look, sir, the guy's in court, first of all. He's in court for like driving without insurance or driving without a license or something. And the judge is like, he's sitting there quietly through this whole spiel as this guy's giving his spiel, saying that he has the right to drive, and it's guaranteed in the Constitution. Natural law, I think that was what it was. And he just goes off on this whole thing, and the judge just sits there and says, "Look, at the end, he's like, you look like a nice guy. You're polite. You're soft spoken. You haven't offended me in any way, type thing. But I would hate to see you lose your driver's license until you're like 90 because you're pulling these stupid stunts." And it's just like, I've heard everything you've heard, and you might think I just fell off the wagon, but I've been here for a long time, and I've seen a lot of people just like you fall for this same stupid stuff that you did. And he's like, I don't know if there's some club somewhere where they give you this information and you think that it works, but it doesn't, and it's never worked, and it will never work. And so he says, he guides him and says, the best thing to do right now, just plead not guilty. We'll assign a public defender. We'll, pay this little fee to reduce this other ticket over here. And it was hilarious to watch this judge who clearly, and he has like long flowing white hair, right? Like super long. And so he has a unique look with it. But he's been around for a long time. And it's just like another SOV sit in my courtroom over a traffic ticket. But it was hilarious in light of the whole Brooks thing. Class reduction is such a shame. Brooks' representative had to go to prison for what Brooks did. Yeah, it happens. I mean, if you stand in for him, you got to really stand in. Lawful law, Lector Dog, thank you. Lawful law was what Brooks called it. Natural law is also a term that they do use. Awful law, lawful law, yeah. Tag says, yes, if the defendant is found to be under a certain level of mental capacity, their interrogations are omitted due to the fact they don't understand. Right. A lot of times, the first big piece of evidence that a defense attorney will try to throw out is that interrogation, because it happens the soonest. It's one of the first bits of actionable information they have, other than the physical crime scene evidence the police have stumbled across on the crime scene, as they're trying to put everything together, and the defendant's trying to either tell the story or make up a story. It's difficult to get it right, or sometimes you make mistakes, even if you're trying to do what's right and say what actually happened. And anything you say, if it does mistake or contradict, or you don't remember correctly, or you're confused about the question, it can be used against you in court. And like in the Spanish teacher case, where the two students are accused of beating their Spanish teacher to death with a baseball bat because they got a bad grade. They're trying right now. They just had a hearing this week where the mom testified. They're trying to get that information, that interrogation, thrown out, because if they can throw out that interrogation, it's like a link in a bridge, like the keystone in the bridge. If they can keep that interrogation out, all these other pieces of information that are relying on that, the search warrant and everything they found pursuant to the search warrant, all that crumbles and that all goes away, and suddenly you've got a different case entirely without any of this key evidence and very damning evidence available to them. So if they can get that thrown out, that's a big win for the defense. Let's see. Leanna says, I can't stay long. Well, I'm glad you're here for the part you can stay for. Alexis is starting the Lawful Law Club. Sign up now. First meeting is at Box Fort. Don't be late. Bring your own boxes, right? Alexis, that is hilarious. Maybe we'll need a shirt, a Box Fort shirt. I think that might be a good one. Tag can't stay long this morning either. I got to head to the doctor's to get meds. Oh man, really sick this morning. Want to hang out a bit and enjoy chat. Tag, hope you get feeling better soon. Hope the doctors can give you something to get you back on your feet and gets you back here with us if that's in your best interest. Oh man, bummer, man. In 72 on antibiotics. Hopefully, antibiotics are a wonderful thing. I will tell you. I don't often share a lot of some of my deeply held feelings publicly, but this remark from Tag triggered a thought in me. When I was over in England, this is for all you UK fans. When I was over in England, I was walking along the streets of London, and just it's amazing. If you haven't been there, the history is incredible. I love the architecture. I love the culture. I love the fast-pacedness of the city, and just the diversity and everything else. It's just an amazing place to visit or live. And I'm walking along, and I didn't really realize where I was, and I think I was outside of, I think it's Queen's Hospital. I was near there. I think we were visiting somebody that had been in the hospital, and as I'm walking along, I look at a plaque, and there's a plaque up on the wall, and it says something to the effect of, in the upper room of this home, I forget the year, penicillin was discovered. I'm like, I'm standing right where they discovered penicillin, and it's just like that is unbelievable. And it's just like, there was a moment that changed the world that happened right there in this little room as somebody's just discovering, testing and trying different things. And you think about how beneficial that was in fighting all sorts of medical conditions. But that was really cool. I love history like that. Also had a similar experience just looking at the, I think it was on Exhibition Road in London, where I was walking along next to one of the museums, and the museum is like this heavy granite wall, just massive, amazing architecture. It looks like it would, it would be there for centuries, if not millenniums, and it has huge divots in it, just like pieces of rock blasted off the wall. And there's a plaque that says this damage was caused by bombing during the war, and it's preserved. It hasn't been repaired, so just as a reminder. And it's moments like that just like they touch your soul, just like they connect you to something you learned about. In my case, I learned about from a book, and then suddenly walking and being able to put my hand and feel that, and you can almost hear the bomb going off and the destruction and what it must have looked like in the streets during that time. But crazy. Not an ostrich, not funny. Yeah, the thing I like about England actually is the diversity. Yes, there are. They call it the melting pot of the world, right? Especially in London, you can walk around London and hear every language in the world spoken, and stores to match. There are stores for all the different cultures. Okay, so let's get back to crime just a little bit. We got off base. Let's see. MB says, this doesn't pertain, but I have had this question for a long time. If a person's understanding of their Miranda rights is important, why do they read them to an intoxicated person during a DUI or operating while intoxicated? Probably because the level of understanding is pretty low. And even though they might not remember what they're doing, you can have a conversation with someone that they can respond intelligently and accurately to, even when you're drunk. I doubt they would do much of a prolonged interrogation of an intoxicated person, but I think that that them being able to respond accurately to your questions is probably enough to proceed with that, as well as just you want to have that done and say, like, I read them their rights initially. It always looks bad if the police are like, well, 2 days into it, we read him his rights. That's not good. But they'll read him their rights every time, especially nowadays. Every time they get questioned, they'll read him their rights, and they'll let them go. And the next time they come, not let them go, but they might hold them for a while and then bring them out for questioning again, and they'll go over the rights again and say, hey, it's just a formality. We've gone over this before, and they try to make it look really mild. It's very important. But I think that's why. Let's see. Deborah Strong says, one of the kids' mother that killed the Spanish teacher said she didn't have the proper glasses on to read the consent form for interrogation. Right. And she said that she asked for it to stop, and they continued, and a lot of things. So if that gets thrown out, I'm not sure when the judge rules on that. If that gets thrown out, that's an entirely different case. The amount of evidence they have against him diminishes greatly. It doesn't go away. I mean, they still have quite a bit of evidence, but... yeah, let's see. Is it true that the two boys from New Mexico had chats about killing on their phones? You're talking about the Spanish teacher? Wasn't that in Iowa? Pauline, I think we might be mixing up the locations, but there was some. I think there were Snapchat type discussions, which teens use because they think that they can disappear and no one will find them. But once you post something on the internet, as Stephen Lee will tell you, it's on the internet for good. Let's see. Angie says, look up WPLG Local 10 on YouTube. Shows Judge Scheer hugging the prosecution team and family member after Cruz left the defense team. Yes. Is that a problem? Here's what I think. I don't think it was appropriate. I don't think even some of her comments during the witness victim statements were appropriate. Which is an issue for her, but I don't think it will change the outcome of the case. I can't see any scenario where the defense team would say, hey, let's push for a mistrial type thing. Let's push for a redo. Let's get this on appeal and get this back in front of the jury where the death penalty is back on the table. There's too much evidence. There's too much to overcome there. They won. And as wrong as everything that happened was during the trial, as far as the decorum and proper ethical things that the judge may have crossed, I don't think they'll try that again. I don't think they'll risk it with that client. Let's see. Tag says, when I was in the Army, I lived in Europe for 2 years and got to visit old poets' houses and castles. It's pretty cool. I'm a history geek. They have so much history. I said previously, I lived in a house that was built like in 1100. Okay, like 1100, and I threw darts and darts on holes on the wall, and I feel bad about that. Didn't realize how old it was until later. But let's see. Carly says, morning all from Scotland. Welcome, Carly. Appreciate you being here. Let's see. The tag says they have to read their Miranda rights to no matter what, according to the Supreme Court decision, 1996 Miranda versus Arizona. So it's like a requirement for arrest, right? It's you put the cuffs on and you say you have the right to remain silent. They go hand in hand. So see how I said the hand in hand? Yeah, I went there. Good morning, all who entered. Thank you. Oh, Pauline, no problem. I mix up my facts all the time, and I appreciate you guys straightening me out as well. Let's see. John Lucas says, recovery addict. Formal complaints have been lodged against the judge and public defender Tamara Curtis. Judge was awful. We're going to see action on that. We're going to see reprimands. I don't think we'll see anyone lose their license or lose their position, but we'll definitely see a reprimand for that. Okay. We wanted to talk a little bit about. Okay, here we go. Switch your media player. We want to talk about this. The parents of Ethan Crumbley. They've been in court for a hearing so far that was over the importance of whether or not they were going to allow a special expert witness. But as this comes up, as this gets closer to going live, and I think, let me double check the date here. I think it's jury selection is the 17th of January on them. Just looking back at this, these guys are in a weird spot. First of all, as parents of the shooter, they're being charged with 4 counts of manslaughter. I think they're being held on either $500,000 or $1 million bail each, mostly because they ran. They literally fled. And their lawyer said, oh, they didn't flee, they'll be here, and then they didn't show up. And the police had to go find them. And when they found them, they were like in hiding, and there was somebody else was actually is going to be charged or was arrested with hiding them. They were running away. They bought him the gun. They knew he had a gun. They knew he had mental illness. They knew 2 days in a row, the day before and the day of the shooting, they were called to the school because of his behavior. And this is a kid who's done some really disgusting things, hurting animals. He's done just some awful artwork. He's talked about this enough that students at the school knew there was going to be a shooting or had a good reason to believe there was going to be a shooting that day. And some of them even stayed home as a result. And for the parents to not say anything about the fact that their child had a gun, it's a bad deal. There we go. Anyway, so we're going to talk about them just a tiny bit. What do you guys think as far as the parents being charged? Do you think this will be a trend that goes on in other school shootings, especially when there were signs at home, when there was some degree of the parents knowing there was trouble and that they seemed to not take action on it? Lori says, Ethan's mother took him to the shooting range. Yeah, she even posted on social media like a picture of the gun saying, hey, testing out my son's Christmas present type thing, 4 days before the shooting. Laura says, oh, it's the crumbs. What are we talking about, Laura? Are they cookie crumbs or are you talking about the case here? Lori says, I agree she crossed the line. However, we're talking about the judge again. I agree she crossed the line. However, she could be reprimanded for it, even though it wouldn't affect the verdict outcome. Right. I don't think it will affect the trial and the verdict at all. Charlie, my mom went to school for Halloween as a hunter with a real rifle over her shoulder. How times have changed. Hopefully it wasn't loaded at least, Charlie. Can we at least agree on that? Yeah, it's different. that Lena says regarding the Crumblies, they knew they had problems and bought a gun anyway. I take my daughter to the shooting range. I've taken my kids shooting as well. I think if we are going to have firearms and that's going to be a part of our culture, I think part of the culture should also be a proper respect for them and training if you're going to use them. Shauna says, right, the parents need to be charged. They just ignored him. Too much effort to avoid. Yeah, it was crazy. Okay, here's the deal. I know we've only been here for about 40 minutes, but today I'm getting my wife a new couch, and part of that involves me doing some heavy lifting, and I think the time is about coming that I have to go pick up the couch, and I want Judge Wife to be happy, and so I'm going to do that. But we have a few minutes. I've got to be gone here within 20 minutes or so. But what I want to do is, if any of you do have a message, a question, something like that to talk about, we will. Tomorrow, we are going to do our uplifting stream, right? We're going to talk about just good news. It may be trial related, but it's just going to be something positive that we can reflect on. And instead of some of the heavy stuff we've dealt with this past week and previously, it's going to be interesting that way. But it's also probably not going to start until about 10 or 10:30. So I think I'll put I might even go as late as noon. I'm going to put a placeholder out there, basically a countdown timer, so that you guys can see when it's going to be and have an idea, and then we can join for that. I hope you guys will be there because we've sat through some heavy stuff, some emotional stuff, and some very interesting stuff. But this is going to be just uplifting, and so that I just wanted to let that out right now. Let's see. True Celtic says, I remember going to school with guys who would have shotguns in their trucks in the window racks. Okay, that wasn't that long ago. And for those, it may seem, even in the United States, it might seem weird for people who live in urban areas to be like that. But the further west you go, not all the way west to California, but the Midwest area, it's very common. Hunting is not just a way of life. It's just a fact. You shoot, you hunt, you've got cattle, you defend your cows. You might have to shoot a coyote on the way home. It's like those sort of things happen, and it's not bizarre in that scenario. And so it was probably just in my time going to school that became an issue. Michelle says, parents, I think, should be charged. Parents purchased a gun. We can't change the stigma of mental health if parents aren't able to talk about it as it relates to their children. Show my cartoons day, says Stephen Lee. Okay, well, we'll show the cartoon. We'll show the cartoon tomorrow. Is that all right? We'll do it as part of our good news, even though it's a little bit poking fun at me and my skills as a metal detectorist, but it's all in good fun. Matthew Harris is in the house. Matthew, welcome. He is our resident legal expert out of Texas. Do appreciate him being here to say hi between his court cases and clients. Charlie Peterson says, I was taught at 5 with a BB gun to treat every gun with respect and as if it was loaded, even if it wasn't. I got my first shotgun at 10 years old. Parenting is key. Okay, so you mentioned BB gun, and that triggers the squirrel thought in me. And in this case, it's an actual squirrel thought. Because yesterday, as I'm standing in my kitchen, I just got my hot chocolate delivered to me in a Christmas mug because my mugs are still... look at this. You can't see the mug. It's invisible because it's green, like my background. But it's delicious anyway. Thank you very much. You mentioned BB gun. Yesterday, I'm standing in my kitchen, and I hear this noise like this. I'm like, that is not a good sound. That's not a sound I want to hear in my antique house, right? Because something is chewing on something that they should not be chewing on. And it turns out that my huge pecan tree next to my house, which is close to 100 years old, is the perfect ladder for a family of squirrels to jump onto my roof and find a little corner where they can drill a hole and get into my attic. And so yesterday I took out my Red Ryder BB gun which is, if you haven't watched The Christmas Story, it's a wonderful Christmas movie where the boy in the movie just wants a Red Ryder BB gun. It's a little tiny lever action gun. It's about the weakest BB gun you can buy. I took that out and tried to scare the squirrels away from my house. I don't think, possibly if I shot one in the eye, it might hurt, but other than that, they just get, if a direct hit with that gun would just it's like flicking the cat's ear or something. It might annoy it. But I had to defend my property against the squirrels yesterday with a BB gun. So that's where my mind went on the squirrel thought. And just for your information, it is legal in North Carolina for me to do that. North Carolina has what we call a red-handed law, where if an animal is destroying your property and you catch it in the act, or you catch it red-handed, you can even kill the animal if needed. And also in my community where I live, I'm allowed to fire a BB gun on my own property. So everything I did was legal. I do check the laws on that beforehand. But Stephen Lee says no shooting squirrels. He's not a fan. I have to defend my attic. It's I've had them in my walls before. I'm trying to keep them out. Let's see. Failure to properly read minds should not be a crime. Don't charge parents, neighbors, friends, etc. Okay, so yeah, I think in this case, as the evidence comes out, I think we will see that this wasn't them failing to jump to a conclusion. I think we will see that they probably knew more than we thought they knew. Especially as you start putting pieces of evidence together about what the mom texted him as soon as she heard the shooting started. And yeah, I think they knew. Let's see. Bella says, good morning, Matthew Harris Law. I watched your video on jury duty yesterday. Wonderful, Bella. Matthew Harris is a genius. And obviously his expertise is in Texas law, but his understanding probably is broader than that. So if you do have some questions, I do recommend at least watching that just for a basic understanding of how the law works. I think you will not regret spending some time on his YouTube channel. True Celtic Mutt is quoting from The Christmas Story, "You'll shoot your eye out. You'll shoot your eye out." For those of you that still don't remember that movie I was talking about, this is the one that references the Red Ryder BB gun. Maybe you'll remember the scene where the main character is dared to stick his tongue onto a flagpole in freezing cold weather, and it becomes attached. Tex says, dark hot cocoa is my favorite this time of year. I have a squirrel that loves my garage, teases my dog, and buries his pecans all over my flower bed. You sound like you live in a similar area to me. I don't have a dog, though, so the squirrels just run rampant. Lee here says, good day. Sorry I missed your live. It sounds like I missed a heavy one, but if it was guns in the USA, probably better than I did. Lee, yeah, we have had some heavy topics. We're not going to go into too much on the guns today. We'd touch it lightly, but we're going to keep it light as we just wrap up for the week. If anybody has any questions, I know some of you might be popping in here sort of ahead of what you thought was going to be the Sarah Boone trial. A few of you have sent comments to me saying, hey, where's Sarah Boone? We were talking about Sarah Boone, now she's gone. What happened? I need a drink here. Hang on. Hot chocolate. What happened was Sarah Boone's lawyer, her public defender number 6, filed a motion of continuance, and the judge granted it and pushed the case out all the way till January 30th. So we're going to pick up a couple other big cases before Sarah Boone's, and it looks like they're going to overlap. So it's going to get really busy at the end of January. But we won't be starting Sarah Boone on Monday as we originally anticipated. Let's see. Lee here says, they bought him the gun. Geez Louise, how much more do you need? Well, Lee, yes, the buying the gun is an issue, the parents that bought him the gun, because it was a straw purchase. And straw purchases are no-nos in just about every state I can think of. Basically, the son gave the dad the money. The dad went to the store, bought the gun, and gave it to the son. That's when you make a purchase of a firearm for someone who legally would not be allowed to buy the firearm themselves, which was the case for him. Not good. There's responsibility there, at least on the dad's part, and the mom was at least complacent in it, knowing that it was his Christmas gift and posting on social media about it. So that's good. Max says he's going to the hardware store today. We don't know where that's going. but whatever you get at the hardware store, I hope it is a good deal and it's something that that betters your life. Where in Texas is Matthew Harris? He is everywhere in Texas. I don't know specifically, Matthew. You'll have to answer that one. MB says, regarding the student-teacher murder in Chattahoochee Park, Fairfield, Iowa, the boys posted their knowledge of the crime on social media, kept weapons used on them, and admitted to being in the park. Right, and their story originally, like, one of them's like, oh, I have no idea what's going on. The other one's like, yeah, there was this group of masked kids that did it, and then they forced us to move her body with a wheelbarrow and drive her car away. So yeah, they'd love to get that testimony thrown out. Bella's got a second for A Christmas Story. It's a great movie to watch any time of year. Tell us about the couch, what color, size, etc. It's gray. Our theme in our house is sort of like seaside colors, and it works well in that setting. And it's a sectional. Is that enough information, Ostrich? That's what we're getting for. Sean says, LOL number 6, talking about Sarah Boone. Yes, if you go down the list, and we did this on one of the live streams, the list of lawyers that she's been through, one of them, she gets a public defender, and then she says, oh, I'm going to get a private defender. So he's like, all right, I'll step off. And then she's like, oh, but I can't afford a private defender. And I'm like, okay, we'll give you another public defender. And they give her a public defender again, the next one who's up on the list. And he's like, I can't do that because I represented her husband, who's now dead, in a previous case against her for a domestic abuse. So I'm out. And the next one's like, well, I can't be it because I represented one of the witnesses in the trial that's going to be called. And it's just, they've been in the court system quite a bit. And one of them, which was probably the most telling, was just saying, Your Honor, we have some irreconcilable differences. There's something between us that we can't get over and that I can't work with. And the judge is like, look, we've already been through a couple. You got to tell me more. And he's like, he comes back a day or two later. It's like, respectfully, Your Honor, I can't. I wish I could, but I can't. It will reveal, some privileged information. I can't say that. And you just please let me off this case. And the judge is like, fine, I'll let you off. Anyway, he's been through 5 others. She's been through 5 others. Now she's on 6. And she's been complaining about him. She wrote a letter to the lawyer, copied the judge, carbon copy, saying, my lawyer's not answering my phone calls, which I make every single day. I don't think I'd answer her phone calls every single day either if I were her lawyer. But yeah. Charlie says, sectional couches are top tier. Vote for that. All right. Wonderful. MB, talking about the Spanish teacher trial, says the student teacher murder. The boys posted on social media that they created a map of Graber walking route after stalking her. Yeah, they literally they watched her pattern. They knew that she walked at this park regularly, and that behavior alone, the fact that they had pre-planned this and calculated what they were going to do, is why they're being charged as adults right now. And that's another thing the defense wants to do, is get this out of the adult court and back into juvenile court. I don't think they'll be successful in that, but if they're able to throw out the interview, possibly that next step, getting it back to juvenile court, would be successful. Lee wants to know, will we all fit on the couch if we come for a barbecue? Well, Lee, let me just say, in North Carolina, you don't come for a barbecue, you come for barbecue. Barbecue is a noun here, not a verb. I've lived in areas where it was a verb. You'd barbecue, at meat, whatever. But in North Carolina, barbecue is pulled pork, and particularly in North Carolina I'm in, it's pulled pork with a vinegar. It's a very unique flavor. I will tell you that it is not as good as salt and vinegar chips, that tag is saying, but it's very unique. Abby, thank you for subscribing and hitting the like button. I do appreciate that as well. You guys have made this channel just explode. In just like 2 weeks, thousands of you have hit the subscribe button, and thousands more have come back day after day. I know I've got like 6,000 people that come back over and over to watch these lives, even after the fact, and it's awesome that you guys are finding some enjoyment there. She needs to go sovereign and get it over with quickly. Last poet. I don't think we can take another sovereign citizen right now. Hopefully we get just a regular defense. John Lucas says, recovery addict, do you think that Ethan Crumbley will testify against his parents? Yes, 100%. He's already on the potential witness list, I believe. And the reason why is because when he was sentenced, okay, you got to think back. Ethan was not offered a plea deal, right? They did not offer him anything. And it was they thought about going with an insanity plea, but the defense eventually said it's probably better off if you just plead guilty to everything, the terrorism charge, everything. And so he did, without a plea deal. So he's basically throwing himself at the mercy of the court, saying, it was me, I did it, guilty as charged, be lenient, right? That's basically what he's saying. As part of that, in his guilty plea, he made some statements. And one of the statements was that he had given his dad the money. His dad had went out and bought the gun and given it to him. That is definitely going to be a key factor when the dad's defense is that Ethan stole the gun from the house. So I definitely think you're going to have Ethan testifying against his parents in that trial. True Celtic Mutt says, North Carolina barbecue is the only real barbecue worth eating, I think is what he's saying there. I will eat it. I do like it, but it's not my favorite food. I was grown up with the Texas barbecue, the tomato based type. But last poet, what did you say? To whom were you referring? I missed the comment there. Sorry, Laura, I can't help you with that one. Excuse me. Colette Cat says, and that is something the mom is upset about. She didn't know the search warrant included his phone. Yeah, I think her regret for signing that document came after the fact, after she realized sort of the scope of it. But I think she passed the understanding level of what the signature was. If you follow me on that train of thought, I think she's aware of enough of what it was that when she signed the document, she was granting them permission to do what they did, and I think that will hold up in court. Let's see. Bella says, you said something about your beaches in North Carolina. It's going to be years for Fort Myers Beach to be restored. I also have a great couch for Seaside Vibe. The Fort Myers Beach is, here's the flip side of that. As a metal detectorist, immediately after a hurricane is heaven. It's like walking through a shipwreck, a Spanish gold shipwreck type thing. That's when you find the doubloons and the Aztec gold and whatever else has been sunk out in the ocean and is carried up onto the beach. As the sand is washed away, all the heavy items remain. And that immediate time after a hurricane, that's the time I want to be out there. At the same time, the devastation was unbelievable. The lives lost, I haven't been there, but I was talking to people just saying that just the smell, just the, as the days immediately after the hurricane wore on, as it went to, just the smell of the mold and the damp and just everything was destroyed. That's the side that I don't like. I wish we could have the beach scoured from sand just for me to metal detect and then have it all put back, sort of like replenished. Let's see. So Terry, I haven't seen Terry in chat, but I do get messages from Terry quite regularly. And one of the things Terry chides me on a little bit is how much I jump around. And I'm sorry, Terry, this has been a bad day for that. I'm jumping all over the place. But hopefully you can follow here as we just swing with the chat with the different people that want to talk about different things, different directions. Tom says, recovery addict, there was a very good case that the defendant represented himself again out of Florida, and the guy was actually competent. It was the Trevor Summers case, worth the watch. I'll have to look at that. I'm willing to bet that he did not go sovereign sit on that, right? Just checking. But I'm betting that he wasn't a sovereign sit, self-representing. Lee here says, getting him to mention how he got the gun in his plea was telling. It was, and he's cooperating right now, whereas the parents are not as cooperative. Oh no, here we go. Johnny Depp's in the house. Colette Cat says, did you know Amber Heard is crying sovereign citizenship over a lawsuit against Depp? Is she seriously going there? I know she recently fired the lady who was her attorney, and that attorney, and those of you who watch the case might catch the significance of this, that attorney just in a press conference, just was singing Amber Heard's praises and just saying, it's wonderful. I pledge whatever support you need in the, moving forward. Pledge became a key word in that trial. But I'm wondering if that attorney was giving a jab at Amber as she parted. Sunny England. Would it be intentional? I'm not following all the conversations here, so I'm probably confusing everybody. But it looks like you guys are having quite a few conversations on the side. Let's see. Angie has reminded me it is couch time. I think I got a knock at the door a couple minutes ago, so I'm going to have to leave here. I do have a little bit of buffer, but True Celtic says I was part of a group that went to NOLA after Katrina, and you're right. The smell is something I remember to this day. John Lucas reminded me to get the pickles. We are headed to the store today. I think I'm going to head to the store with the wife and make sure pickles make it into the cart. Might have to buy 2 jars instead of 1. Tom says, recovery addict. I don't think he went full sovereign, but he did well compared to DB. It was a kidnapping murder case. It was done in 1 week. Easy peasy. Wow. I will take a look at that one. They're removing cars now. I'm 7 miles from the beach. They're cleaning sand, so maybe they will collect what you would as a metal detector. Bella, yeah, the hurricane can wash items all over the place. I mean, one of the reasons why I can't metal detect up by, say, like Fort Macon State Park in North Carolina is that it has Civil War artillery shells that have not exploded yet in the water. And occasionally they wash up, and they don't want to metal detect us to find one and hit one with a shovel and kaboom. Let's see. Franco, good morning. Happy Friday. It is wonderful. Not an ostrich reminds me we need some bread and butter pickles. I just need a full selection. I need a fridge full of pickles. If that's a thing, I'd like that. Charlie says, I ignored every second of the Depp case. Can't stand celebrities. And there were 2, right? For those in the UK, there was a UK case and this one. I think both were covered on Sky News, if I remember correctly. Okay, John Lucas says, not jars, pouches. Pickle in a pouch. John, I think you sent me the picture of the pickle that you are a big fan of. If that wasn't you, somebody did. And I will watch for that. I'll have to give that a try. My problem is I'm going to need a lot of pouches. So anyway, on that topic.
Sandy Field.
Oops. Every time I play the wrong one. Wouldn't it be just cooler if I was just talking to you and going along and then just the music started like it was supposed to instead of a voice message? Sandy, thank you for the message. We did play that earlier. If you missed that, you can go back and hear that. I will be on tomorrow for sure. Maybe on tonight if something happens today in the New Mexico trial. I'll be keeping an eye on that. Tomorrow's going to be a fun day, right? It's going to be a happy day. Bring your good thoughts. Bring something to drink. Might be hot chocolate again for me as it's cooling down here in North Carolina. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be positive. We're going to share somebody that really I think did a lot like the yellow shirt girl did in this trial. In a bad situation, made the best of it and took action probably better than I could have in that same setting. So that's what we're going to talk about. Thank you, Abby has given out the hugs, which she is brilliant at. Abby, we appreciate you being here always. I truly do. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. Spend some time with your families, finish up work, do all that. I appreciate that. I will say I'm cleaning out my old videos. I'm sort of deleting them and changing how we're doing things just a tiny bit. So don't be offended if a video you watched before is gone. The actual trial footage is available, and I can direct that to you if you want that. But that's awesome. If you do want to get a mug, remember eBay has them. Search for Recovery Addict mugs. Soon I'll have the real mug here, and I'll be able to show you that one too. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate all the good wishes in chat. You guys are amazing. It's wonderful to be here, as always, and I will see you again tomorrow, probably about 11 o'clock, but watch for that little countdown timer. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one. Bye.